I'm Mark Seifter.
And I'm Linda Zeiss Palmer.
And this is Arcane Mark.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to part 2 of our biased reaction to
So
the
biased!
Lost Omens Pathfinder Society
So
guide.
biased.
We are picking up where we left off last time with the Lodges chapter.
Pathfinder Lodges.
So let me go ahead and grab that for you guys.
Okay, Pathfinder Lodges.
Boop. There we
go.
Pathfinder Lodges. The places where your friendly Pathfinder Society agents go to get their gear repaired, to learn new spells, to trade stories, to rest, and perhaps most importantly, to gather some new missions.
Which lodge is the one with that castle with like the blue blue tops in this opening?
That looks.
One with all the zombies.
Yeah, that's the one in
I don't think they're. I'm not sure if they look like maybe they're kind of zombies.
The people?
Yeah.
Well, we can go through the
we can see which one it is when we look at the art of the lodges to see if we can figure it out.
I have not memorized all of the lodge
Linda,
arts.
I thought you were the organized play managing developer. How do you not memorize the art of all the lodges in the entire world?
In large part because a lot of the lodges didn't get art until this book.
I know.
So we'll see what we see here. So,
right.
In this first part here, we talk about the Pathfinder lodges in general. With their main central lodge, the Grand Lodge is one that's familiar to all Pathfinder Society agents because they've had to go through there at some point in order to be confirmed as agents. And this section also talks a bit about what the role of a venture captain is, those leaders within the Pathfinder Society, how they become venture captains. And how the flexibility that Pathfinder Society agents have. They don't really belong to one lodge that says, oh yeah, you're only going to take missions out of this one lodge. They can travel throughout the world and they can take missions whenever they want to. And while in Pathfinder Society scenario, there's kind of the assumption of, oh yeah, these agents are going to agree to take this mission because otherwise you're not going to play the game you sat down to play it, where you're playing an agent who took this mission. Agents also can decide whether or not they want to take missions.
You can decide to just leave.
Yeah. No, you
can.
can.
The GM is like, okay, we're going to fight some undead. I hate undead. Bye. And then you walk out of the table.
That's true. So this talks about, this also talks about, communication between different lodges and the kinds of amenities that they often offer. So it's a good general resource for what you can expect.
What about the Grand Lodge?
The Grand Lodge, as I mentioned, is the big one. You can see here on the...
Alright, so that's clearly not the one
on
from
the
the
left
art.
side.
It's got red instead of blue for those.
So you can see the Grand Lodge here, and also on the facing page there, Janira Gavix, the familiar agent who is now the head initiate of the Pathfinder Society, the sort of dean of students figure who helps those newbie agents figure out what's going on and get the resources that they need to succeed. So this Grand Lodge section talks about the history of the Grand Lodge. Certainly, the Grand Lodge, has been there pretty much since the founding of the Pathfinder Society, just a little bit after. So it is a 400-year-old institution that has had a lot of change over time that we discuss here. And this section also goes over all of the key locations in the Grand Lodge. It goes into detail
the one with
also
the
about
tongue
how
sticking out on the face.
Yes, those faces that move
important.
whenever you're not looking at them. Yeah. So this is similar to some of the content that you might have seen in some of the earlier products, but there's some changes to this based on some differences that happened during the Pathfinder Society campaign. Like in the Founder's Garden here, there used to be a giant statue of Durban Guest, but in an adventure a few years ago, there were some dastardly Aspis agents who caused some big problems with that statue, and so the PCs in one adventure had to take down the statue. So that's not there anymore. So this section provides some more detail and context for some of these locations, and also updates things to the present day. And I definitely had a lot. I did write this section.
Linda wrote it,
but I definitely had a lot to write for these because of things like the allies for the Pathfinder Society, which you'll see in some of these sidebars. Some of the key members who just kept having to go into the sidebars here because there's just so many important folks who work at the Grand Lodge. And the section also talks about the Ambrose Valson, the steward of the venture captain who serves as a steward of the Grand Lodge. What kinds of operations come out of the Grand Lodge and how they coordinate things throughout the world, as well as some of their rivals. And this was a fun point to point out. You've got the Aspis Consortium, who have been presented as rivals to the Pathfinder Society since the beginning of the Pathfinder Society organized play campaign and the beginning of the release of the Galarian.
But there's a new rival.
But there's a new organization, the Peace Builders, in Absalom, who are basically an organization who looked at some of the collateral damage that was caused by the Pathfinder Society and were like, you know what? Somebody's got to put a check on these guys.
They're like the Neighborhood Watch. If the Neighborhood Watch saw that, like, across the street was this building that kept causing giant black dragons to attack it and other horrific things all the time, and lowering the property value in the foreign quarter.
So we mentioned a little bit last time, and I can reiterate here that this book isn't just for people who are playing. This book isn't just for people who are playing in the Pathfinder Society organized play campaign.
But who else is it for, Linda?
And you mentioned, but it's also for people who want to play characters who are in the Pathfinder Society going on adventures. And another thing that Mark said is, well, what if you don't want your character to be in the Pathfinder Society? If your characters are in the Peace Builders and they are trying to deal with shenanigans that the Pathfinder Society is causing, then knowing about how these Pathfinder agents operate can be very useful.
I feel like being a Peace Builder is going to be a very challenging job.
Yes.
You have to stop this ridiculously overpowered multinational group of super soldiers. Pretty much.
Someone's got to do it. So that's what we got on the Grand Lodge. The next lodge we have here is the Exalted Lodge in Razmaran. This section is written by Michael Sayer and is his brainchild to come up with a lodge with a lodge that kind of gets across the idea that while the Pathfinder Society as a whole, is neutral but with a bit of a heroic bent and has been trying to reform some aspects of the organization. That doesn't mean that you don't have shady characters who are still in the Pathfinder Society. Or
are you saying that Venture Captain Narson is a shady character?
He's
lawful neutral.
He's a lawful neutral guy, but he's also a devoted priest of, he's also very, very charismatic. He's a priest of Razmir.
He's a radical in his church because of his negotiations with the Pathfinders.
But, but we like to still have characters who are introduced to, maybe they're completely on the up and up, but they also have other motives that are going on that you might be able to, determine. And this is a lodge that that Pathfinder Society characters in Season 1 of the Pathfinder Society organized play campaign had a large part in repairing the area and making sure that in founding the lodge in the first place. So this is one of the newest lodges. And you can see our friendly Venture Captain Narson here on this next page.
Friendly.
He looks so trustworthy. So trustworthy. And so the section here, like all of the sections, talk about the Venture Captain himself and also talks about some of the operations that you can expect coming out of here. So this, not only does this give kind of some sense of what kinds of ideas we might be picking up in Pathfinder Society organized play, but it also has a lot of ideas we don't necessarily have plans to pick up in general when we go through these. So these are great inspiration hooks for any campaign that is going to be coming out of these areas.
You can use a Razmiri Wayfinder to pretend to cure someone's disease, but it comes back after a day.
So true.
Man. Farseer Tower
Farseer
just
Tower
looks awesome. Like,
looks
look
awesome.
at that. It's definitely not the one from the chapter opener either, but it's so cool.
Yeah. So this is Farseer Tower is the lodge in is the lodge in Katapesh, and there was sort of a meme going on for a while because Katapesh had a huge density of lodges. That
Didn't it have like 5 venture captains?
Yeah, well, you can see them talking in the beginning of the 4 major Pathfinder lodges in the region. This one is now
It had Flagos Dome and Rotorus and Aurora Steelbloom and Wulessa Yule.
Yes. So, but this is now the primary lodge. There's been a variety of retirements and people who have been engaging and retired. You know, Aurora Steelbloom's gone off and done her own thing. Flagos Dome, Pathfinder Society agents put a stop to his actions after he really did some evil stuff in one of the adventures. So it's really been more consolidated around.
Well, it's a good example because if you looked at the 4 venture captains when they started, there was a lawful evil, a neutral good, and a neutral good.
Yeah.
But then they got rid of the lawful evil, so it is tending more towards heroism from that.
Yeah, exactly. And it says here they discovered that he was both a traitor to the society and a slave trader. So, he's not a venture captain anymore.
I mean, like, given that it's in Katapesh, the slave trader thing might not be that surprising, but the traitor to the society thing is definitely going to get him kicked out.
Yeah. So,
plus, a lot of members of the society are extremely against slavery and help towards getting slavery abolished in Absalom.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. So this is one of those higher magic lodges that offers special divination classes, and each of these sections does talk about the special benefits that you could get out of these lodges. They
like
have
nose
assets
change.
and services. Like, well, in this one, auguries, lodging, mental health counseling, supplies, and transportation.
And nose chains.
Yeah, well, I mean, Wulessa Yule's fashion does
it's
include.
a divination.
Yeah.
So.
It's a magic item. So why not wear it all the time? So yeah, you have Wulessa Yule, the seer of Farseer Tower is our adventure captain, and you can see her here.
Yep. I mean,
as well
Pathfinder agents kind of need mental health counseling, so it's good that they offer it here.
There are several.
No wonder there were 4 lodges in this area if they offered mental health counseling. This is probably where a bunch of Pathfinders wound up.
Yeah. Well, there's several lodges that mention that as one of the services that they provide. It's based on.
Yeah, but I don't know if I would have wanted the mental health counseling that's known as indoctrination.
Religious indoctrination from the Exalted Lodge. No, that I love those little sections, and the little things that those lodges provide.
I don't think it's a good idea.
What about the Grinning Pixie?
Seem right.
The Grinning Pixie provides cartography, deliveries, maritime transportation, and wrecking.
Okay.
So if you need a ship destroyed.
You might. If I'm a Pathfinder, I probably have at least one ship somewhere that I need to be destroyed.
Mm-hmm. That's true. The Grinning Pixie, which was the lodge of Venture Captain Calistro Bennery.
Before she got the glorious payoff.
Yeah, before she got the glorious payoff, as we talked about a bit last time. And it is now the lodge of Eris the Needle, this friendly fellow over here, as you can see on the right side.
Uh-huh.
So this is a lodge that has traded hands plenty of times over the years. It wound up being Calistro Bennery's for a while, but now it's one that now it's a traveling lodge that goes around the world and is going to be the one that is most likely to carry people off to distant islands or other locations whenever you really need those resources on hand. And let's see here.
Plus, there's the Tengu Jinx Eater in the earlier page.
Yes, the Tengu Jinx Eater Alksu. Another thing that we were doing with this with the structure of this book is presenting not only local allies for each of these lodges, but also somebody else who is at the lodge who is the venture captain, who's a good person to talk to, a good resource.
Well, plus since the Venture Captain section was on the second spread, you probably wanted to have a full body on the first spread.
Well, yes.
As it turns out.
But no, it does work out really cleanly to have multiple people. And from an adventure writing standpoint too, sometimes you want someone other than the Venture Captain for people to talk to whenever they go to the location and to help explain how operations work, because Venture Captains can't do everything alone.
Let's see. It looks like there's some boarding weapons, boarding pike, and combat grapnel.
Yes. So that to assist you in boarding missions, because if you're gonna have to board a ship, the lodge you're likely to start from is the Grinning Pixie.
Seems legit. All right, but what about Hydemark Manor?
What about Hydemark Manor? Hydemark Manor is one of our lodges that has shown up most often in the both in the Pathfinder Society organized play campaign and also in the Shattered Star Adventure Path. This lodge is the base of operations in Magnamar in Varisia. And it's also a lodge that has had to deal a lot with the Auspice Consortium as a primary rival. As well as many missions that are involved in exploring ancient Thessalonian ruins. So they have to deal with they have to deal with quite a few.
Elftro's wondering if Knaven Hydemark is Jason Tondro.
Knaven Hydemark is not literally Jason Tondro, but I can see.
Are you sure? I've never seen them in the same place at the same time.
I don't know. I've never seen Jason Tondro look that grumpy. Jason Tondro usually has a smile on his face.
I suppose
so maybe
right.
That's what Jason Tondro would look like if he frowned in chainmail.
There you go.
But one of the things that this section, which Tanya wrote, does is because she and I were talking about how Hydemark Manor had really presented itself as, Sheila Hydemark does literally everything, and Knaven Hydemark is also a venture captain.
Hold on, Linda. In one thing, Knaven Hydemark asked for wall rubbings from a wall. And then another time, he was there when you left towards Karamaga, and he was like, "Oh, well, you're on your way to Karamaga. Good luck."
Yeah. So
he did two things, Linda, and Sheila did 40 to 50 things.
So one of the things that this section presents is that Knaven and Sheila work together where Knaven handles some more operational behind the scenes stuff, because being out there and presenting missions to PCs and being a face and being a negotiator and being a diplomat is not really his thing. That's a lot more Sheila's thing. So they have a partnership where they work together really effectively in that way, and I think that's really cool to have them collaborating there. So you've got a very useful magic item here developed by Knaven, the Every Need Pack, which
and when you say developed by Knaven, do you mean that Jason Tondro developed it as a developer, or that Knaven created it in-world?
In the in-world, Knaven created it, yeah.
Fair enough.
So that can help you, they can help you by making sure that you've got the mundane gear that you have on hand. And
that seems pretty useful.
Yeah. So if you may not have thought to pack, absolutely everything, but if you've got this backpack, then you actually did pack it. So there's also each of these lodges also talks about the history of the lodge, and so for some of them, the Exalted Lodge, the history is this lodge was literally just founded, but other ones like this one are have more of a history to them. And I saw a question: can someone convince Sheila that you don't need golem backup because the golems are because 99% of the time they will attack the party instead of help defend them? Well, I guess the times that the golems don't attack are the times that don't show up in the adventure.
That's right. I mean, the golems, if they've been there for a while, that means they never attacked up until that one time in the adventure.
Yeah.
They probably protected against 50 Asterisk Consortium
on the
assaults.
same token, the vast majority of the days in the Black Rose Museum are boring and nothing of interest happens.
That's true. It's just a friendly museum where everyone comes to enjoy it and nothing bad happens.
Clearly.
Except for, like, every few years.
I would not want to go visit the Black Earth Museum with the rate of catastrophes that happen there. Just saying.
I mean, there are people who visit places that have a higher incidence of catastrophes than the Black Earth Museum.
That is true. All right. So moving on to our next lodge here, Ice Fairy Lodge. This is the you can see, I love the art for this lodge with like the little snow on its roof. It looks like such a cozy place. It started off as the home of our wonderful venture captain here, Biersig Torsen, pictured with his guide dog Maki. But it's continued to expand. And become an increasingly prominent lodge. I really like, one of the dynamics about this lodge is that it has a fair number of Frostfur goblin allies, but at the same time, the dynamic between the Frostfur goblin allies and Maki the guide dog is just amazing.
So what's the deal with Frostfur allies?
Because Maki's a dog, so the goblins don't like the dog, and the goblins don't like the dog and have trouble behaving themselves.
So it says they have an antagonistic relationship with Maki, where they play harmless pranks on the husky and then flee in terror.
Yes. That's right.
I see.
Meanwhile, Biersig is just like...
Plus magic snowshoes.
Yes, snowshoes of the long trek, which you can see here. To help with Pathfinder agents who are trying to walk over the snow. Very, very useful.
I mean, it seems pretty solid if you're going somewhere that's snowy, especially for a level 5 item. You can get like a bunch of better movement speed. It's way better than being slowed down by uneven ground and difficult terrain.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. So, next up we have the Lantern Lodge. And for this one, we had a little bit of a shift in the way that the Lantern Lodge is presented here. Because the term Lantern Lodge was generally seen to refer only to the Amara Lee's lodge in Goka. But we wanted to give more of an expansive sense of what kind of lodges are out there in Tanshaw, as well as the efforts of expansion. So the term Lantern Lodge both operates as an umbrella term for sort of the branch of the Pathfinder Society that is continually expanding in Tanshaw, and also for the it's basically a co-op of lodges, and it's also a term that's most often used for this largest primary lodge as it continues to expand. So you've got a variety of venture captains who are involved with this and who are setting up some of these other lodges, and this is something that you see in Pathfinder Society scenarios as well, and is certainly a ripe area for expansion in if you're running a campaign and you want to show agents who are on the ground and who've heard about this Pathfinder Society and are interested in starting their own local chapter or what have you, then this is a great place to look. So we've got one of the lodges here, and you can see Venture Captain Amara Lee on this page, who's been taking a huge role in expanding the Pathfinder Society's role in Tanshaw. And she has, and the item here, Book of Translation. It offers translations for a variety of languages to help people communicate. And this is certainly very useful because Amara Lee often deals with agents who speak the common of Avistan and not the common of Tanshaw. And so when she's dealing with agents who don't know how to speak the local language, this can help them to get by.
shove one of those in their face and be like,
use here you go.
Use this handy phrase book.
Yep.
Let's see. I need to open this to common phrases that Pathfinders need. Oh, I've got it. This is the translation for, I know that building's on fire, but it wasn't us.
Hopefully you don't need that phrase.
But it was listed on the commonly needed phrases for Pathfinder Society agents. And then the next one is, my condolences, your relative, a Pathfinder agent, served bravely.
Oh, no. Oh, no. So, in the Pathfinder operations section here, we really can't cover...
Or Pathfinder contact, I mean. Because the contacts are the ones that are always missing or dead, and then you have to find their notes or whatever.
So, this section talks about a few recent Pathfinder operations and ongoing operations. There's of course, so much more to cover than could be covered here. But this is sort of where we put our focus. And next up, we have Nexus House.
Nexus House,
which is the lodge in Nex.
Really?
Yes, in Quantium.
Wouldn't it be funnier if Nexus House was the one in Geb?
It would be. It would be like we stole Nexus House and put it in Geb. But Nexus House is the second oldest Pathfinder lodge. It has a huge amount of history within the society. It is...
What was the oldest Pathfinder lodge, Linda? Was it the Grand Lodge?
It was the Grand Lodge. Yes, it was. This is definitely a lodge that is known for its magic, as you might expect for the primary lodge in Nex. It has all sorts of magic is everywhere here. The lodge is, self-cleaning and magically lit, and just has all sorts of super cool conveniences, as well as decorated magical effects. So it's a fun place to have adventures start for that reason. It's also the main lodge that handles publication of the Pathfinder Chronicles in Garund. So it is a huge repository of knowledge. And as...
Who's the guy who was on the second page? I'm not finding Carso Elspar in vaguely looking through, other than that his name was listed as a key member. Maybe he's just not bolded. Or I'm just missing it. Oh no, there he is. He's all the way right at the end.
Yes.
Just like, he's a key member. By the way, there's a dwarf, and he can become squeamish and dismissive. Got it.
Well, he's the Preshvarma of the lodge.
Yeah, Who is a retired Pathfinder, which means that since Pia Hundo is also a retired Pathfinder, that everyone in the lodge who's a key member is retired except for the venture captain.
There's a lot of people who decide to retire there.
That makes sense. Plus, they have Ganjay books.
They do. From Princess Ganjay herself. And if you're wondering who Princess Ganjay is, then...
Wonder no more. Play the adventures that you find out more.
Yes, play Pathfinder Society scenarios 116 and 117.
Or else.
Find out more about that story. So, in this section, as all the other ones, talks about the history of the lodge, as well as some cool operations that they are up to. They are often involved in diplomacy and politics and magical relics, and also, the mana wastes are not the mana wastes. There's a lot of troubling reports from there. So if you want to go on a mission up into the mana wastes or Alkenstar, then this would be a good starting point for you. Speaking of lodges that are new and recent developments, we have the actual newest lodge, the Open Road Lodge, which was introduced which was introduced in our interactive special. Our last Pathfinder Society interactive special had the birth of this lodge, and this is something that was really cool to be able to coordinate to have this be put out so soon after those scenarios. Really, this required a lot of extensive communication and collaboration to make this happen. The Open Road Lodge is a really cool lodge that's an extraplanar lodge that stands at a nexus, a significant nexus. I don't want to go into it.
Nexus House is not the one that's at a ley line nexus.
No. But, and it's also now connected to the, it's called the Open Road Lodge because of its connection to the Maze of the Open Road. So this is also a great place to go if you're looking for, fast travel between a lot of locations.
So the Open Road Lodge is not on a road because it's in an extra dimensional.
It's connected to the Maze of the Open Road.
And the Nexus House is not the one that's on the Nexus.
I just used
That's how you can remember it.
I just used the word Nexus. One of the cool things about this lodge is that it has one of the original founding Pathfinders, Grigaro Voth, as its
mascot.
No, as its venture captain.
Really? I thought Tanya was adventure captain.
Siggy, not as adventure captain. Sorry, as a leader within it. And then Siggy, who is one of Tanya's PCs, is the venture captain. Right. Voth did not want the responsibilities of venture captain after what he went through. Siggy is the venture captain, and you can see Siggy here. Siggy is a diviner, which is a common field of study you might find among venture captains. Extremely useful.
There's actually a lot of venture captains who are diviners.
Yeah, but it's extremely useful to be a diviner if you're going to be the person who's responsible for gathering information and sending people on missions and having them not die. Mm-hmm. Hopefully having them not die at least. And the item here is a vermin repellent agent. Super useful for folks who might be walking through areas where there's a lot of vermin, whether those are dense jungles or other environments, for sure.
Or open road lodges. Well, so far we have not found the lodge that has the blue tops, or any other lodges that offer counseling. I know
that I mentioned. I don't think it's necessarily in one of these big ones. I know that it's mentioned in at least one of the smaller ones. It's mentioned in the lodge review section.
At
any rate, our next lodge, Starrise Spire, is the lodge in the city of Neurosian.
Or one of two lodges, the one of which that was not evil and had to be destroyed.
Lodge, yes, in the city of Neurosian. So, this is a lodge that played a huge role in the Pathfinder Society's part of fighting against the World Wound. And now that the World Wound is all sealed up, this is going to be a big base of operations for exploration into nearby areas. They continue to be a place where you might head off to go into the Sarkor Scar or a lot of other nearby places. And they're a very well stocked lodge because they're a place that for a long time had to worry about demonic incursion. So you can see Venture Captain Dorsal of Lauderberry here, a knight of Iomade and one of our most clearly upstanding venture captains. And the item for this area, the Cold Iron Blanch, is to blanch your weapons so that they can damage creatures more effectively that are weak to cold iron. Is very fitting for a lodge that has a lot of experience dealing with demons.
Mm-hmm. Demons!
And and then I think the last one in this section is
Woods Edge. The last one before the roundup.
And I wrote this one as well. The Woods Edge Lodge is also has also been in the Pathfinder Society for a while, but it's a lodge that hasn't been continuously in the Pathfinder Society. This lodge had being operating out of Galt is challenging. I mean, you're basically stuck in an eternal French Revolution, and when they come for your head, then it's bad news for you. So, a few decades ago, the Woods Edge Lodge was attacked, and a lot of people were killed or pushed into hiding. Venture Captain Eliza Petulengro stepped back in and was able to reestablish matters there. But Eliza is now on the Decemvirate, and since becoming the only open member of the Decemvirate whose identity is known, she really had to step back from matters at the Woods Edge Lodge.
Fortunately, in Linda's scenario, a bunch of Pathfinder Society agents managed to re-recruit
Armelene Journeau, who was a disaffected former Pathfinder agent. And is now the venture captain at the Woods Edge Lodge. She also has a secondary secret identity that she uses for her operations of protecting people from overzealous bloodthirsty Galtons. And in addition to her work as a venture captain, she sometimes will scout out agents who seem like or other people in the area who seem like they might want to get involved in these missions and have her own missions with her secret identity. The ribbon in her hair is an emergency disguise ribbon, which a lot of the folks at the lodge wear around their neck. As you can see, this guy here is wearing around his neck as a symbol of the guillotine. But it's more than a symbol. It is basically a disguise that people can very quickly deploy in order to get out of a dangerous situation.
Magic item.
And all the folks who work at this lodge, they wear these masks, and they're pretty much all folks who are people who, if the mob found them in Galt, the mob would be after them. So they may be people who they were directly running from Galton mobs, or they may be folks who whose family have been targeted and who are looking for safety for that reason. So the Woods Edge Lodge is very much involved in that sort of thing of protecting people from vigilante violence.
Uh-huh.
So this is and it talks about the operations a little more here, like all of them. And when we get into the roundup of the lodges, because there are way too many lodges to give big features here, so we talk about another about dozen lodges here that are scattered throughout the world and what their deal is. And you can see some of the venture captains here. So let's see. I believe that is it for the Lodges chapter. So the next section is about Pathfinder Society options.
I'm trying to find the one that has counseling. I don't see the one that has counseling.
It's the
in
one.
The Lodge Roundup.
Yeah, it's the Vodavani Lodge.
The Vodavani Lodge. Let's see. Well, given the fact that it is literally a previous asylum that treats mental illnesses, that would make sense. That's the one that's also hosting the former VC from Last Wall. Now that there is no Last Wall.
Well, she's the VC there now because the former VC Dr. Beaumegard Trice stepped back from VC duties in order to provide free counseling to Pathfinders in the aftermath of everything that went down in the end of the conclusion of the first edition campaign, and just generally how bad things were in that Gravelands area for folks.
That makes sense.
So, Pathfinder Society options.
Options, you say?
Pathfinder, this is where your stuff is, Mark.
That's true.
We've got Pathfinder gear. So this first section...
That stuff is not my stuff.
Well, no, this chapter as a whole is yours. Is where your stuff is. With Pathfinder gear, we've got a variety of inexpensive, non-magical items that are useful for Pathfinder.
You've got all sorts of things that are good for Pathfinders. You can have false manacles for when you pretend to be a prisoner, earplugs for the Venture Captain briefing, or all sorts of other things that you can use in a variety of situations.
Marked cards for if you want to cheat at gambling.
That's right.
A wax key blank to help you make wax keys. A water purifier is a thing that you might, or concealable thieves tools.
I mean, who doesn't want to bring their Brita filter out adventuring?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if you find a water source and you're not sure if it's safe, it's a very useful tool.
I'm sure it is.
So let's see, and I really love this little familiar satchel here. Carry your little purple weasel with antennae.
I mean, you should. Where else are you gonna put your purple weasel with antennae?
To help protect them from the dangers of adventuring. And then in this next section, we've got some special services that the Pathfinder Society can offer. Such as fixers and researchers, and information about how those mechanics work if you want to hire those. And then we've got magic items. You know, this is where your stuff was starting to come in here, and we've got magic items such as the...
those are not mine.
Those aren't yours, but I know we're in the magic items section.
No, the magic items are the right side of this section. That's a different section. Where there's several sections before we get to my section.
Okay, but you did magic items that are in this
but it's not in the magic items. The magic items are part of the Pathfinder gear section.
Okay.
Whereas then there's an Academy Instructor section, and then there's a sequence of the Pathfinder Society section.
Should we just skip everything until we can talk about your section?
No, we shouldn't. We should talk about all these sections.
All right, fine. Anyway,
I just want to make sure that people who are reading know that I didn't write those, just in case who are watching at home, in case the freelancer is like, Mark didn't write those, I wrote those.
Fair enough. I will tell you when we actually get to the things that you literally wrote, Mark.
Well, maybe I can tell which ones I wrote, since I know what they are.
Such as the talisman cord, which is super useful for PCs who want to collect a lot of talismans. And I also like the Quill of Passage, the sort of Wile E. Coyote. You escape Wile E. Coyote with Roadrunner by drawing a wall drawing a door on the wall and passing through that. And then we've got more information about the different types of training that you can get at the Pathfinder Society, what benefits you can get from it. Venture Captain Stella Fane, who is a more recent addition to the Pathfinder Society's Venture Captain lineup, a free captain of the Shackles, has a chain of feats that are about using playing cards as weapons. So if you wondered why are there playing cards in the types of items,
you can use them as weapons.
So you can use them as weapons. We also have the Reign of Embers stance, which was introduced in quest number 2, I believe, where that by the martial artist Malika Sanvara, who the feedback she was introduced into that scenario, and folks really liked her. So this NPC, who was just initially sort of like, oh yeah, this is an NPC, she became a larger part of the story, and you'll see that this first feat of the Reign of Ember stance is rare, so that folks who play that particular quest can have a special way to
get explosive death drops.
Get explosive death drops, exactly. The quest Unforgiving Flame, Unforgiving Fire. I'm blanking on which word that starts with the letter F that is for fire.
I really like Creighton's cognitive crossover, because sometimes if you're a knowledge character, you just legitimately have more than one knowledge skill that applies to the same check, where the GM's like, well, why don't you roll me your society or your Pathfinder lore? And you're like, well, I have both of them. They're the same bonus. And the GM's like, well, just pick one. Roll the lore. It's a little easier. But with Creighton's cognitive crossover, if you have 2 skills and you pick them correctly for cognitive crossover and they're both the crossover skills, you can pick 2 skills. So actually only one of them has to be one of the crossover skills. You get to roll again. So you basically essentially are rolling twice and taking the better if they're at the same modifier. It might not quite be as good as that, but still, you can do that after you failed, which means that it's just very handy. It makes you way better at detecting things when both of the skills apply. It's very, very cool. And it's a skill feat.
Yeah.
Plus, you can get spells trading with a Wayfinder repository.
That lets you store up a spell.
And 2 swords training
feats,
including
Farabella's Flip. Yes, so it's very intentional here that the masters of scroll, spells, and sword all have a feat that is specifically named after them.
That makes sense.
All right. And here we have Secrets of the Pathfinder Society.
Okay.
With Wayfinders and Aeon Stones.
Now we've reached the part that I actually wrote.
All right, talk about it.
All right. There's some stuff in here that I wrote. It's obviously good, I guess, since this is the biased reaction. No, I don't know. There's some Aeon Stones. There actually were some things that I wrote that were Wayfinders that got moved to earlier in the book. But we've got some new Aeon Stones. They are some of your old favorite Aeon Stones, assuming that these were your favorites. Such as the Agate Ellipsoid, which can give you some augury. There's
one that everybody used to buy.
The Azure Briolette, which can basically give you some hit points when you do mental effects on people. The Dusty Rose Prism. Yeah, why would you not want to be able to just cast the shield cantrip for 50 gold pieces? Yes, please. I'm a two-hander. I want some more AC.
There's a question in the chat. Why the shift from Ion Stones to Aeon Stones?
Because they're Aeon Stones. Ioun is some... Who's that? That's probably some character from, like, the Forgotten Realms or Greyhawk or something. Aeons, though, are a type of or like what are the middle ones called? The
Monitor.
Monitor. They're a type of monitor in the Great Beyond, and they have they like stones, so it's totally different. Let's see. Pale Orange Rhomboid. That's the most expensive one that's here. It's just like, oh, you died? Just go into the stone. Pearlescent Pyramid, which can give you Ghost Touch. I mean, who would not want the ability to have the Ghost Touch property rune on things? It's actually super nice because it grants the benefit of the Ghost Touch property rune and it does not use one of your slots. So it's a steal. Everyone should buy this in case they have to fight against things that are ghosts. Pearly White Spindle can start healing you 1 hit point every minute. That takes a while to heal you up to full, but hey, it's only 60 gold pieces. It was way more expensive in PF1. And then the Western Star, which can give you an illusory disguise. So basically, it's got a lot of classic Aeon Stones. There's a bunch of new Wayfinders that some of which like existed before and some of which I just made up. Like, there's the Homeward Wayfinder, which can take you back to a Pathfinder Lodge. The Hummingbird Wayfinder, which can turn into a hummingbird to, like, spy for you. The Fashionable Wayfinder that can change your clothes, because everyone wants to be able to change their clothes. And the Elemental Wayfinder, which has 4 different elemental versions, so that you can element while you element. Plus, that's not all. Pathfinder Society Familiars, the obviously best part of the entire book. Maybe if you're going to give a biased review. No, I don't know. But a lot of people found the Familiars to be things that they like. We've got the Aeon Weird, which is a...
and I know you've mentioned before that you were literally the only one who could have written this section into this book because the APG was still in design at that point.
Yes, the APG was still in design at this point. So it's literally the fact that I was freelancing this section is the reason it had like it had to have familiars. In fact, what happened was I was asked to write Aeon Stones and Wayfinders, I think for, like, to fill all 4 of the pages at first. And I was like, well, I can definitely do 2 pages, but I kind of want to do some cool other stuff on the other pages. So in the outline, it just said, Mark writes cool other stuff, and there were 2 pages. And I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I want to expand those archetypes that don't have enough feats yet. And then when I went to do the assignment, I read the outline for everyone else too, because that was kind of an important thing. And this was back before the design leads were always looking at the outlines at the beginning anyway. I was like, oh, they're already doing that. Okay, well, what about... Oh, no, they're doing that too. Oh, wait, no. Oh, but no one's doing familiars because they can't, because that rule doesn't exist yet. So I put in some cool new familiars. We've got the Aeon Weird, who you can put your Aeon Stone in there. The Calligraphy Worm, who... they just like to write with their stylus claws. Dwemercat Cubs, who can alter Dwemers, and there's a litter of Dwemercat Cubs that came from Pathfinder agent Arian Road Thriceborn. Plus Poppet. I mean, Poppet. Linda created the Poppets in Adventurer's Armory 2, the player companion, and now they're familiar.
Yep, one of many times when someone's gotten me to write something by going over to me and telling me about something that's cute, and then being like, all right, fine, I have time. That was Wes. Usually nowadays it's Luis who does that.
Who gets you to do a thing?
Who gets me to do a thing by reminding me that the thing that I could be writing about is in fact cute. Linda,
do the thing. All right, and then plus other secrets. Which are special secrets from yet another one of the many diviners who are venture captains, Cordelia Perseus, who has her construct key that can help you deal with constructs that she learned while researching about clockwork constructs. A cunning weapon rune that can allow you to be very cunning against your enemies, where you can glean their secrets by... Basically, if your weapon drew blood, you suddenly gain information about them. And Perseus' Precautions, a 3rd level spell that can... Basically, you can put it on the target and allow them to roll an initiative roll on particular types of initiative that would use the precautions twice and take the better results. So, that way, you can make sure you go first, because... Cordelia would want you to be able to act first.
She would.
And then that's the last thing.
You might know Cordelia from the Pathfinder Adventure Card Society. Well, it was technically the
Adventure Card Guild
at the time. But
yes, she's a card of a cohort that joins you for the adventure from when she's helping you out to do an investigation in Taldor.
And then there's a Glosser. Then there is a Glossdex.
There is a Glossdex.
Which...
And an OGL, which includes marriage, much like most Lost Levels.
That's true. But for real though, these gloss dexes do take a while to put together, and part of the goal with these is to make it a lot easier for folks to have a quick way to understand when they see some word what this is supposed to refer to, and these gives a lot of pointers for other books to take a look at if you're not sure. If you
see the word heaven and you're like, what's that? Then you can go into the back and find that is a lawful good plane that embodies order and compassion.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, sure. Like, that might be easier to get. That might be easier to guess, but like, maybe you're not sure what a
Golarion.
Maybe you're not sure what Kragadan is, or Casmaron, or
Pathfinder Society. You might not know what that is.
Yeah.
And then you can find it here in the Gloss decks.
I'm happy that this is some. I know
Gloss decks are very important.
These take a lot of work, but they're super useful for folks to have that context, and it also prevents authors from having to be every time be like Caden Kalian, chaotic good god of.
Yep. And then at the end of everything, it says, "Where in the world is Dervin Guest?"
Printed in China, where in the world is Dervin Guest? Oh, I didn't know that.
That's what it says, Linda. how can you react biasly without reacting to where in the world is Dervin Guest?
You know, I think that just shows that nobody reads that fine print except those of us who literally have to because checking it is part of our jobs.
Is that so, Linda? Is that so?
That is indeed so.
That is so. So yeah, this has been our biased reaction of Lost Omens Pathfinder Society Guide. Super biased. Shall we say goodbye to YouTube and then do our closing for our Twitch fans?
Let's do it.
Bye, YouTube!
Bye!